Hey traders, welcome back. So I'm going to talk today about increasing your position size. Now this is my take on it. There's no maths involved in it. There's no kind of analysis or structure or official structure if you like. This is my take on increasing position size. It worked for me pretty well. I got to a certain point, and I'll talk about that in a second, where psychology kind of kicked in a little bit, but getting to that point, this worked very well for me. So the age-old thing with trading is that we want to make as much money as possible for as little risk as possible. I've mentioned it before in previous videos, and I truly believe that that's what we're all here to do. You know, we don't want to risk that much, we want to make as much as we can. So we're trying to find the strategy that worked well for us. Sometimes we fall into a few traps here and there where we think we're risking a little amount, but actually the occurrences of those losses are quite frequent. Or example could be not spread betting related, but selling options. You think it's, the risk per trade. You think, well, actually I've got 10 winners in a row, but ultimately the risk of that fat tail is pretty high. Just an example for options. So you kind of get to a point where, listen, you've got a strategy that's working for you. You've got a basket of strategies that's working for you. You've made a bit of money. You want to put the throttle down a little bit. You want to make a little bit more. How do you increase position size? First of all, before we move on to that, I want to talk about fixed versus variable position sizing. What I mean by that, fixed, I mean by saying, listen, for every single trade I do, I'm going to risk X. Okay, now that could be a fixed percentage. It could be a fixed percentage of your account balance. So okay, it's variable in that respect, but it's still fixed for each trade that you're taking, whether that's a pullback trade, a mean reversion trade, whatever strategy it is, it's fixed. It could be a fixed monetary amount, £200, £2,000, 20,000, whatever your position size, whatever you want to risk compared to the risk capital you've got at stake in the market, or your account balance, your trading account balance. Okay, so anything that is fixed. In other words, for each individual trade that you take, whether you trade setup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if that setup has different grades to it and you trade and it's a little bit more powerful, you still only do that. Versus variable. Now, variable is basically saying, hey, I've got some flexibility here. In other words, let's say I have a strategy, and let's call it, I'm going to think of a stupid name I like the rocket strategy, right? Because you know what it's like, guys. You've got these people out there selling you strategies, and they have to call them something fancy. So let's do it ourselves. Let's call it the rocket strategy. And in reality, all it is buying a pullback. Yeah, it's buying a first pullback type trade. So pretty standard, but as we know, it's a profitable strategy and it does work under the right conditions. So this is the kind of thing we're doing. We're looking to buy at some point in that pullback. Easier said than done, but a decent strategy. Now we might have different grades of that strategy. We might say, okay, we've got grade them from A, B, C to D. Okay, A being the very, very best. So let's think of some parameters around that. Let's say, okay, we're at the open. We've got a good volume and we've gapped up higher, right? I'm just making that up on the fly here because I know that this is something that I've used. I'm calling it the rocket, by the way, but this is something that I've definitely used. So a B might be, okay, well, we have, we're at the open, but we've got some volume, but we haven't gapped up. It's okay, there's some volume there, it's a reasonable distance, but it's not, and actually I'm going to put the distance, and what I mean by that is the, hopefully you can read that, is this distance here on the initial drive. Because, when we're talking about a strategy, if it's a good volume, good power, good at the open, good gap, everyone's sort of repricing it, a bit of urgency, that first pullback's not a bad place to get involved, and I'm all over these kind of things. It's one of my favorite strategies, but I digress. Okay, so in this rocket strategy, hypothetical rocket strategy, we have open, volume, it's at the open, its volume's good, that's not too bad. And we might say, it's got a decent distance, yeah? But it hasn't gapped, and we like the gap because it's potentially got people who are stuck short and they're hurting, they've got to come out. So that's a little bit of extra fuel to the fire. The idea is that all this is adding extra credibility to the already good setup. So all these things. And as we go down the grade, we might say here that it's, a grade C might be it's the middle of the day. It's got some volume though, and it's got some distance. Right, but it's in the middle of the day, it's come out of nowhere a little bit, it's a bit no man's land, it's all right, but it's not great. And then we might have a D grade strategy, which kind of says, listen, this is, against the trend, against the long-term trend, So we're pulling back. It's coming to maybe some resistance above us. We've got some resistance. Or perhaps the current day's high is already above it, so we're not really breaking into fresh territory, that kind of thing. So this is just off the top of my head, guys. Obviously, you can kind of make the vision. If you can read my awful handwriting there, hopefully you can. But the point is we're grading each strategy. We're grading each strategy under one umbrella. So we're talking about this hypothetical rocket strategy. We've got grade A, which is just beautiful. It's got every box ticked. It's at the open. It's got a good volume. It's gapped up. It's got a good excursion distance, whatever it may be. Then we go down to a grade B, which is okay. We've got the same couple of parameters at the open. Volume, by the way, it's a day trading strategy, just to confirm that, obviously at the open for me. Distance, good. But we haven't gapped up. We haven't really taken out any levels. No one's really stuck short on it. So it's not A, but it's pretty good. And then C, you know, it's a midday, a bit choppy. Volume's there, distance is there, but you know, when we're broken out, it's yeah, not as good as B. And we've got the worst one, which is D, which is like the worst possible one we'll take, just about, against the trend. So maybe we've already had a downtrend here, we're spiking back up. There's sort of resistance maybe a little bit higher, we haven't broken yet. No one's really in panic. Volume's not really there. It's all right, it's kind of just about takeable, but you know, you're not going to go in heavy. Okay. Stick on that point, we're not going to go in heavy, that's the point. Do you then say to yourself, okay, whatever we have on this strategy, however this strategy occurs, we're always going to take it with position size of X. Let's just use X as a fixed position value, a fixed monetary value. So are we always going to just take it with X? Are they all equal enough to take it with X? Or are we going to go variable? Are we going to say, you know what, this is 5 times as good as this. It doesn't occur that much, but when it does, I want to be on it. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to be 5x. For B, I might do 3x. For C, I might do 2x. And for D, I might do X. Or I might say, you know, more likely I'd say, okay, C, I'll do X. And then D, I'll do half X. Yeah? So we don't really like D, but we'll have a go at it because it occurs quite often and we know it's profitable just about, but we don't want to risk too much in it. So that's the general difference that you've got. So in the next video, guys, I'm going to talk about the psychology of this, and I'm going to talk about how we increase our position size and how, whether we're increasing our position size, whether using fixed position sizing, go into more depth about the pros and cons, go into more depth about the pros and cons of variable position sizing, and let's look at it and see how we can increase our position size to increase the amount of money we're making, but still kind of keep an eye on that risk. So look out for the next one. If you like this video, guys, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, leave the comments below. Check out part 2 coming up. Take care.